Hello, it is the Degenerate Square. Got my 0.0. I've definitely stone broke, not gainfully employed, and I'll be honest, I don't have a whole lot going for me, but that's okay because it's college football season coming up, week 1 this week, and despite all that, that makes up for it. I'll function with a season ahead. Now the goal is, the goal is to make money with this, right? I'm a square, I'm broke, and we're going to have a lot of square plays this week. Got my 0.0 here. Let's get things started with Georgia and Oregon. This number is 17.5. I think that's a big number. And I'll come right out and say I like Oregon in this game. The reason I like Oregon is pretty straightforward. That 17.5 number is basically based on an assumption that this Georgia defense is going to be really great. Maybe just a step down from last year's historically great defense. So let's look at last year. They had 8, maybe 9 guys who were truly elite guys on the defensive side of the ball. They bring 2 of those back, plus a couple more who did play a lot last year. But what a lot of people don't remember about that Georgia 2021 defense is that the first teamers stayed in the game most all those games. Thinking of a few games they got pulled out early, like South Carolina, some of the non-conference games, definitely Tech. But in a lot of those games, you had all those guys who were drafted in the first round playing up until late in the fourth quarter. So I think there's this assumption that, one, all these guys are just going to step in, have experience. Some of them don't. Another assumption is that they're not going to miss a beat. They're just going to step in and be great because, 1, Kirby Smart, 2, a bunch of highly rated mid 4-star type guys. I don't know. I think that's an assumption that we just can't make, and that it's got to be cooked into the line. Because think about it. If 2021 Georgia plays Oregon at the end of last year in Atlanta, okay, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, what's that line going to be? Maybe 22, 21? So maybe 23, I don't know, something low 20s. So to see it open at, we'll open at 16, 17, now 17.5, that's just a lot of points when we don't know if Georgia's going to be close to that 2021 defense. Now, will Georgia be a top 10 defense nationally? Sure. I'd say there's a great chance, but there's a huge difference between a top 10, even a top 5 defense, and that 2021 defense. So I think that's one thing. 2, in looking at this 17.5 line, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, especially to a lot of Auburn fans, but I like Bo Nix. I think Auburn. I think Oregon has the quarterback edge in this game. I think that's a clear edge for Oregon. I think Bo Nix improved last year. People don't give him enough credit for that. He was bad to mediocre in 2019 and 2020. In 2021, there were about 3 or 4 games where he played really nicely. I'm thinking of the Ole Miss game, thinking of the Arkansas game, the first half of the Mississippi State game. That's not a 6 and 7 team if he doesn't get hurt in the Mississippi State game. They still lose that game, but they're going to win. They're going to beat South Carolina. They're going to beat, terrible Houston team in the bowl game. Yeah, I know they won 11 games. Big deal. But Bo Nix is going to be pretty good, I think. He's seen this Georgia team before. He's seen them a bunch before. So he's not going to be, caught off guard with the speed, with the athleticism. And, a lot of people don't remember, but I remember the 2021 game in Jordan-Hare. I was actually at that game, and Bo didn't play bad. Yeah, the final stats weren't great, but he put together some drives. He could have had another one had they got a pass interference call. in one of those drives near the end zone. But he wasn't like in shock and awe from that Georgia defense last year, even though Auburn did lose easily. So I think Bo's going to play okay. I think the Georgia defense may be very good, but it can't possibly be close to the 2021 defense that lost, a historic number of first-round players. So, 17.5 is a huge number. So give me Oregon and the 17.5. One rule I have is I never bet a big underdog like this if I don't think they can win the game. What percentage chance would I give Oregon? 20, 25. But when you look at that 20 or 25% chance, there's a significant chance in addition to that they get inside that number. So that's one game I like. I like Oregon and that massive number of points. Looking at the next game, DS is playing this week. I like South Carolina against Georgia State. Now this line to me looks thin. It opened at 13.5, 14. Now it's 13. I think this line is kind of thin because people look at Georgia State. They had a decent record last year. They're returning a lot of people on offense and defense. But when you look at a few of those games last year with all those returning guys, they got smoked in a few of these out-of-conference games. Army woodshedded them, and one other team just totally blew them off the field, won by like 40 points. I'm blanking on it now. Now, they did have a very close game against Auburn, but I thought that was Auburn just playing horrific that day. I don't give Georgia State a lot of credit for that close performance. I think the Army and North Carolina, that was the other team. I think the Army and North Carolina out-of-conference games are much more telling. But the main reason I like South Carolina to cover this number is because what South Carolina is bringing to the table this year. One, the program, are they going to beat Georgia? Hell, are they even going to beat Tennessee? Probably not. But, I think they can whoop Georgia State. Biggest addition, of course, quarterback with Rattler. They had nothing at quarterback last year, just absolutely nothing. So to have an upgrade, even if Rattler is just pretty good and not great, you're still looking at a massive improvement on a team that was already on an upward trajectory. Remember, they destroyed North Carolina in that bowl game last year. So you've got, Spencer Rattler coming in for a big upgrade at quarterback. Then you got an Oklahoma transfer at tight end he's probably familiar with. He's going to be thrown to. You got a Sun Belt wide receiver transfer coming in. Kid had like 1,800 yards last year. Yeah, it's the Sun Belt, but still. And there's not a lot of, FBS guys who are going to put up 1,800-yard seasons. So I think, and they had another returning guy coming in. So Rattler's going to have some targets. It just has a feel-good vibe. So I don't love South Carolina as a team this year, but I certainly don't love Georgia State and 13 points. They could play kind of flat, and you could still get that cover. The last game, look, I'm Square. Square's picked the marquee game of the week. Okay, so when this game came up, it was Ohio State -16 against Notre Dame. I played it right then. Now it's 17.5, so I'm still gonna play it at that number for this show, but this game has all the makings of just a rout. It's going to be one of those games where you're watching early in the first quarter, the score can still be 0-0, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this one's over. People are going to be flipping to Utah, Florida late first quarter in this one. I think everything about this matchup just screams blowout. One, let's look back to Notre Dame's bowl game. That was Freeman's first game as a coach. Oklahoma State just demolished them. You had guys running wide open in the secondary on them. And hell, Notre Dame lost their best secondary guy, their best safety. So I know they've got somebody coming in from Northwestern, but I just don't see it. I don't see how Notre Dame in that environment is going to stop Stroud throwing to throwing to Freeman, throwing to that All-American guy. This could get ugly. And it could get ugly early. If there's a first half play to be made, that's also Ohio State. I don't know what it is. Probably Ohio State, 10 or so. So that game could get ugly. At quarterback, Notre Dame's not. I don't see how you could feel